All right. Gotta find my way back to you, Lord. Hmm. All right, and good day, everyone. Loving that intro this morning. Got to find my way back home. Gotta find my way back to you, Lord. I love that. That's a grand idea. Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to today's session of A Course in Miracles, our session of Truly Foundation and A Course in Miracles. This is a partnership where Truly Foundation, which is our nonprofit organization that provides these commentaries, have agreed to provide a commentary for each one of the 365 lessons, workbook lessons that are found in the book A Course in Miracles. And we have journeyed up until today, where we are on the verge of continuing our part 2 of this workbook lesson, this course, where we are in the process of building what we call true perception. Now that we have undone the ego idea, we have let that go, and now we're replacing that with what the course calls true perception. Perception has to do with the way we see things, the way we interpret things. And we have let go the way that we were seeing and interpreting prior to this course. And we have engaged, now we're engaging into or installing a new way of perception. It's called true perception. The course calls it Christ vision. Other spiritual paths calls it awakening, enlightenment. The scripture says that it is transformation. Be ye transformed by the renewing of our mind. And so that is what we're doing in this whole experiment with the workbook lessons out of A Course in Miracles. And today we're going to finish our talk that we started yesterday on the all-important subject of what is forgiveness. And if you were not with us on yesterday, or if you have not listened to the replay, you may want to go back and listen to that first before you, if you're looking at the replay here live, stay with us. But if you're looking at the channel, the YouTube channel, you want to listen to part 1 first, and then finish up with this part or this session that we're going to engage in today. So what is forgiveness? Was the question that we sought to address. Because without a clear understanding of true forgiveness, or the Jesus brand of forgiveness, or I would say the Course brand of forgiveness, we still miss the mark in terms of really learning how to navigate and master our life, how to take full advantages of the gifts that God has given us in creation. And so, just like in every spiritual path, even in the world of psychology, this theme of forgiveness is huge, and you will find it in every religion. You will find it in every spiritual path. You will find it in most psychological, even in the medical community, have discovered, science even have discovered the importance of letting go of the past, letting go of grievances, releasing yourself from sin consciousness, guilt, and fear, and the importance of that. Um, you talk about pain and suffering. Um, I would venture to say that pain and suffering is a result or an effect of holding on to unforgiving thoughts, holding on to unforgiving situations where one may have felt that they were unfairly treated, is the result of not understanding the ramification of retaining someone else's errors or someone else's mistakes, even our own error or even our own mistake. And so we need to have clarity around this, and clarity comes through learning, teaching. Even the Bible says that grace and peace is multiplied unto us through the knowledge, through the knowing. There's two levels of knowledge. There's knowledge that that is shared in the form of ideas or thoughts, and then there's another level of knowledge that is direct, what we call direct experience. Some people know things because they have experienced them. Some people know things because they have received the information. And so I'd just like to make this opening statement by saying life is a journey. And when I say life is a journey, I'm talking about the experience that we have in this body, mind, this self that is in this physical world, that was born in a body and has a personal history on a timeline, and then eventually that birth ends in the sensation of the body. So we're talking about all the events and activities and sensations and relationships that happens in a person's personal life. We say that life is a journey in learning to forgive, learning to let go of our false self, or of a false idea of ourself. This whole experience or experiment is about learning to forgive, learning to let go of that which seemingly is real for that which is seemingly real, letting that go for that which is that is actually real, letting go of unreality for reality. Life journey is a series of forgiveness opportunities, of forgiveness lessons, and every encounter in life is a forgiveness opportunity, and it continues from birth to the sensation of the body. And so we know from A Course in Miracles that this is not the eternal life. This is not the real life. This is not the real you. This is not the eternal self that we're talking about. But since we are here, the goal here is peace. And peace comes through the knowing of ourself. And the knowing of ourself comes through what? Forgiveness, letting go, realizing that what we may experience in this life journey, the majority of what we experience in this life journey is temporary. It's not real. It's just an experience. And we have to, and the goal is to learn to let it go so that we can be aware of what reality is. Be aware that love is always present, and love is who we are. And who we are is infinite and eternal and impersonal. We all share one life. That one life is eternal. That one life is God. And that fact that we are self-aware of this reality, that we're self-aware, that the awareness of this doesn't come from outside of us, but the awareness of this comes from our very own nature, our very own essence, which is awareness itself, which is consciousness in itself. There's one thing that we're absolutely positive about, and that is that we exist, that we are conscious, that we are aware. There's no confusion about that. You know that. We may not know why we are aware. We may not know why we're here, why we're conscious. We may not even know what our function is, why we're here. But we do know that we are aware, that we are, that I am, that we are certain about. And so life is a journey in learning forgiveness. So forgiveness is something that we learn. Forgiveness is not a gift that was given to us in creation. You know, happiness, love, joy, peace. All these are gifts. All these are aspects of who we are. All these are aspects of what God created. All these are aspects of God, because in creation, God extended all these aspects of himself, and he called it I am. And this is who we are. That was before there was any that was before the foundation of the world, before there was any time or form or world. So our real true beginning happened in eternity past. And not past like in the past, but eternity has to do only with the present. And we have been taught that that we remain as God created us. How did God created us? God created us what? In love. God created us with his very own essential nature in essence. And that is what and who we are. And that is changeless, and that is unalterable. We remain that way. So this temporary experience we're having, which is very temporary, in a temporary world, in a world of perception, in a world of coming and going, in a world of time and space, in a world of limitation, we're having this just temporary experience. If you're in this world as a human, you're having a temporary experience. This is not your permanent state of being. It's temporary. It comes and it goes. You notice everything in this world is fleeting. Everything in this world is transitory, meaning what? It is changing all the time. But the one thing that does not change, we call it reality, or we call it God. Well, now we've come to understand that that is our very own self that we share with God. That's our real self, the real you, who loves you. And since I said that, I want to remind myself of that. So let me remind myself and yourself of that. Yes, truly, 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 Jesus said, truly, truly, I say unto you, and I say it unto you today, that truly the real you, or the God you, or the infinite you, or the divine you, loves you. Why? Because the divine you is love. The infinite self that you are is love. God is your reality, and that reality is love. And so that love is what you are. So that means that you are love. That means that you are loving all the time, and that you are lovable, and that is unchangeable. Now, we come here and we forget all that, and we can live this life and not recognize the love that we are, or the love that we share. But it doesn't change the love that we are, or the love that we share. It can be unrecognized. Reality can be unrecognized, but it can't be changed. We can layer it over, we can veil it, we can cover it up, and that's what we do. We cover up our reality with unreality, and this world helps us to do it. Our conditioning in this world helps us to do it. Our misunderstanding about this world helps us to do the cover up, to layer ourselves so much until all that we know is a false self. It's not the real divine self that we recognize ourselves to be, but we think of ourselves to be this body, mind, body identification, which is very limiting, which is part of that which comes and goes, which is part of that which is transitory. And so this whole process that we're going through is to unveil that falsity and realize that who we really are remains unchanged. That we're the innocent, the guiltless, the sinless, the holy creation of God. And so is He. As God is, so are we in this world. As Jesus said. And we remain that way. It can never be changed. It can never be altered. So that means that no activity, no relationship, no event, nothing in this world can change who we are. Therefore, everything that is experienced in this world it becomes just an experience, and that's why it's so easy to let things go. When we understand this, it's easy to let things go because we know it was just an experience. In many cases, these experiences involve people or relationships in our lives where they don't have this understanding that we're talking about. And so without the knowledge of this understanding of our oneness with each other and our oneness with God and all creation and all living things, without this understanding, we walk in sin, consciousness, guilt, and fear. And that motivates us to go on the attack, to feel like we're under a threat or under attack. And so we attack others. We don't know how to navigate the love that we are. We don't even know that we are love. And so we see ourselves as something different, as hate, as separate, as divided. We see ourselves as these labels that the world put on us in terms of our race, our gender, our nationality, our political affiliation, our, all the different things that divide us. And we see ourselves that way. And so we see outside of us a need to protect ourselves. We feel under threat all the time. And so that's why we go on the attack. And when we go on the attack, we don't understand that we're only attacking ourselves because there's only the one self. And so I may personally, we all get involved with having personal traumatic situations in our life that stick with us. And without knowing, we hold on to them and not knowing that these things cover up the light the light that we are, the reality of who we are. We don't understand that. And so it results in pain and suffering and a mind that appear to be working against us. And we don't understand what's going on. And so we live by default. We think that life is lived from the outside in, when in reality, life is lived from the inside out. So the world is only reflecting back to us the way we see ourselves, our own made up self-image of ourselves as being separate selves, as being sinners, and all the other things that we have been labeled through many different sources, seeing ourselves as inferior, incapable, seeing ourselves because of the way we look, the color of our skin, all these things, race, all politics, all the things in the world, our economic status. We use all these things to formulate our value, to formulate our self-worth. And none of these things can replace the reality of what God created. So we walk around as this false self, hurting and being hurt. But when we realize, and we get this information and we realize that what my brother did to me, it did not occur, and we're able to let it go. And we realize what people did to us, that what we thought was unfair treatment or abuse. We realized that they were not aware of their own self, so they could not do anything else but abuse or to betray or to, you know, uh, misrepresent you or to misrepresent themselves. They were not walking in the light of their reality. And so they was walking in fear. And what does fear do? Fear attacks. Fear breeds ignorance. They didn't understand that who you are and who they are one and the same, that we are connected, that our minds are joined, that we're connected by all the cells of our universality are one. And so what we were doing to others, we were doing to ourselves. Did not realize any of this. We're blinded by all of this. But now we're learning. Now we know. Now we're waking up. Now we're being enlightened. Now we're recognizing the truth that is true always. And that's what Truly Foundation is here for, to help us to understand these things so that we can embrace our true identity, so that we can fulfill the function that we've been given, which is forgiveness, which is being the light of the world. So forgiveness is something that we have to learn. It's not something that is given in creation. And I can't think of any other aware information than what an explanation than what it is given in A Course in Miracles. And that's why we have chosen this resource. This is the very best that I have found up until this moment. It is not the only one. It's not the only resource that teaches teaches forgiveness at this level, but it's the one that saved my life. And it's the one that can bring anyone, I think, out of any situation that seems so unbearable. You know, you've met people that say, I can never forgive them. I can never let them go. I can never, ever. Well, with accurate knowledge, you can, because it's not you holding someone else's hostage. You are holding yourself hostage when you are retaining grievances, when you're retaining unforgiven thoughts. And so if you remember on yesterday, we answered the question, what is forgiveness? And it said that forgiveness recognizes. So it's a recognition. It's but a recognition. That means that I didn't recognize it before. Now I recognize it. So it's just a shift in it's a shift in our perception. It's a shift from the point of view in which we are seeing life, from which we're seeing ourselves, from which we're seeing the collective humanity. It takes just a shift. Nothing out there has to change. The change happens within our own perception. We shift our vision. It's called Christ vision. In other words, it's called God vision, God's vision, seeing from God's perspective, seeing from the perspective of oneness. And so it says forgiveness recognize what you thought. So forgiveness operates in the realm of thought, because it is in the realm of thoughts that we hold on to ideas that are destructive to us. It is in the realm of thought that we hold on to thoughts and ideas and perceptions that are anti to our well-being. And so let's go to the source. Let's go to the source, because we don't want no more band-aid solutions. Band-aid solutions. We want real solutions, real answers to what we feel as are real challenges. And like I know, in this world, the biggest challenge in this world is relationships. Relationships on every level. And so forgiveness recognizes that what we thought that our brother or sister or someone else did to us, it's not what they did to us, it's what we thought they did to us. See, it's what we thought that they did to us. It has not occurred. It did not happen. In reality, it didn't. In unreality, it was an experience Yeah, someone may have talked down to me, or someone may have physically harmed me, abused me, or someone may have stolen from me, or someone may have, all these things. Here, the Course is making us distinction between reality and unreality. He's saying reality, it did not occur. But in unreality, in this world of perception, in this fleeting, transitory world, it was an experience. And every experience comes to pass and is in the past. And then we realize that nothing in the past is real. It doesn't exist anymore. It does not exist. What you did yesterday, it does not exist today. It doesn't exist in this moment. Only thing that really exists in reality is this present moment. We've taught you here that you can't live forward in the future. It doesn't exist. That's why we have so much anxiety in the world, because people are so afraid about a future that doesn't even exist. That's why we have so much pain and suffering, psychological suffering. That's why we have so much depression, guilt, fear. Why? Because we hold on to the past that doesn't exist. And so we see ourselves, either looking in the past. That's why our thought life and our mind, it constantly want to take you back to the past, or have you fearful of the future. You've been around people that all they want to do is talk about, oh, it used to be. You remember when we did this, and remember the past? They always want to talk about the past. Or they always want to say, well, boy, this is not going to happen in the future. That's an indication that they're not in the present. And they are bound by illusions. And we've learned here, and Scripture tells us that there's only the present. And in the presence is where the fullness of our joy reside. In the presence where our happiness and our peace and our creativity. That's where it is, in this present moment. You're listening to me right here in the present. We are doing something about this present moment. We can't do anything about the past or the future. But we can bring our mind that has gone prodigal in the past, gone fearful into the past, or trying to live forward through anxiety in the future. We can bring that mind, our focus, our attention to right now. And say, I am. God is, therefore I am. Bring everything into this one present moment. And you see the meaninglessness of holding on to the past. You see the insanity of trying to live forward in the future. And you say, I like this right here, right now. This innocent space, this guiltless space, this joyful space. Not bombarded by past thoughts of future anxiety. I like this space right here, where all is well. Where there's pleasures forevermore, as the psalmist said. In my presence, in your presence, there's fullness of joy and pleasures forevermore. In this place of quietness, in this place of stillness, you can find that rest. You can recenter yourself. This is a great practice where you, as you go through your life, as you go through your day, in your moments of the day, when you feel want to be pulled back into sin consciousness, guilt, and fear, or where you want to be overly anxious about the future. You recenter yourself and remind yourself that I am in this present moment with all that there is. This is called centering, or refocusing yourself. Because in this world, there's this pull on us all the time. Pull you in the past, want to pull you in a future that doesn't exist. And we can't even enjoy the present moment. We can't even smell the roses. We don't even see the beauty that is right before us, because we're preoccupied with the past. We're preoccupied with the past, or we're having anxiety about the future when we're in either one of those state of mind. That's That is an indicator that we need to recenter ourselves. And forgiveness allows us to do that. The letting go of the past, the letting go of trying to live forward and staying in the now moment. You hear people say it all the time. I'm trying to stay present, man. I'm trying to stay present, trying to stay focused. But that's what they're meaning. In other words, they're saying, I want peace. I'm tired of all of the undisciplined way of being and thinking and always consumed with thoughts that are not my thoughts and ways that are not my ways. So it said forgiveness recognizes what you thought your brother did. It has not occurred. It has not. And when you realize on this metaphysical level, that's what the present moment is. The present moment is metaphysical, meaning it's beyond the physical. Like the writer in the New Testament says, look not at the things that are seen, but the things that are what not seen. What was given to us in creation is not seen. For the things that are what seen are temporary. I mean, they're transitory. They're subject to change. They're just experiences that you're passing through. You see, don't look at those. In other words, they're not saying don't ignore what's around you. What it's saying is don't allow these transitory things to re-identify you or to take you away from the knowing of your true self. Don't let these things that are happening around you define you. You have already defined who you are. You are the holy home of God. You are the creation of God, and you remain that way. And so as we pass through this transitory world, we don't allow the things that are happening in the transitory world to convince us or to change our mind about who we are. We don't let external circumstances define us. We don't even let our past define us, because that was part of the transitory experience. We don't let anxiety of the future define us. No. Who we are is fixed. It was fixed in creation, and we received all that there is in creation. And in creation, there was no need for forgiveness. Why? Because in creation, there is perfection. In your true self, there is perfection. Your true self don't need forgiveness. There's nothing to forgive. What needs forgiveness is this false self that we have embraced as our own. What needs forgiveness is this false world that we have embraced as real. That's what needs to be forgiven or let go. And the moment we let it go, we begin to see and we begin to perceive a different world. We begin to see love everywhere. We begin to see God in everything. And we begin to embrace the reality of our oneness with everything, our connection with everything. That we're one with everything. So we wouldn't hurt our own self. We wouldn't hurt or destroy or put lesser value on ourselves. No, we bless ourselves. We acknowledge and affirm that all humanity is one, that all humanity is part of the brotherhood of God, part of the family of God. We're all connected. It's like every cell in our physical body, they're connected. That's why when something happens in one part of the body, the other part is affected. That is a metaphor for we are all connected. All humanity is connected. We're of the one mind. We're of the one spirit. And what happens in one part affects the other. When we understand life this way, then all we want to do is love. All we want to do is affirm others, ourselves and others. Why? Because that's ourselves. To affirm others is to affirm ourselves. That's why when we hold unforgiving thoughts, that's why when we go on the attack, we attack others in relationships. We try to make others feel bad. We try to make others feel unworthy. We judge and we condemn others. And lo and behold, we feel so bad. Well, you feel so bad because you're attacking yourself. You are feeling bad because you are attacking yourself. The universe only knows oneself. So when you want to give somebody a piece of your mind, you're giving it to yourself. Whatever you're saying about another, you're saying it about yourself. Whatever you're thinking about another person, you're thinking about yourself. So that teacher, that parent, that adult that was offensive, that was abusive, that was irresponsible, they were that way because they were ignorant. In that moment, they had a level of awareness, not understanding what we're talking about here. And so they did things in order to cover up their anxiety. They didn't know how to manage the situation. They didn't know how to manage the relationship. And so they did it not knowing. And now that we know that what was done to us, they did it not knowing. We did things when I was a child growing up. And adults made me mad. I would give them a piece of my mind. I would say things to them that were hurtful. I didn't know any better. And I didn't know all the time. I was building up fear within myself. Yes, I couldn't physically harm them. I couldn't physically beat them. So I would tell them things. I would say things to them that would hurt them purposefully, but not knowing it was building up fear in me. So we've all participated in the ignorance of not knowing, not understanding this oneness that we're talking about, that every part of us are connected with every other person. See, if we understood these things, we would lay down our arms. We would lay down our guns. We would lay down our judgments and our criticisms. We would lay down the unforgiving thoughts and the grievances that we're holding because we realized they was afraid. They act unlovingly because they didn't know. They saw themselves that way. And now when we understand that our parents, our teachers, our mentors, our pastors, all these people that mentored us and conditioned us and may have unfairly treated us, even in our relationships. So that's where we mostly hold grievances, because of relationships that we have misunderstood. When we realize that person was crying out for love, that parent, that teacher, that mentor, that coach, wherever the abuse came from, it was crying out for love. And they projected that onto you. In the cases where we were fearful, we were crying out for love, and maybe we attacked someone else. But none of that matters, because none of it is real. None of it is permanent. It's all transitory. And when we understand this, now it's easy to let it go, because it is in the letting it go that we find ourselves, that we understand, that we remember who we are. We remember God, and we remember humanity. It is the remembrance of our creation that comes into full view now when we let those things go. Without any condition, to the point that we say, like it said here, it did not occur. What happens in transitory life, it's not real. It's like it didn't even occur. In reality, it doesn't occur. And so when we elevate our thinking and our vibration to our true self as timeless and formless and infinite beings, that low vibrational experience don't bother us, can't touch us. It cannot touch us. Even karma can't touch us. When you wake up to reality, when you are become enlightened to what we're talking about here, Even the concept of karma can't touch you. Why? Because you're not in the same place when it comes back. When you maybe have done things that you realize, oh man, I shouldn't have done that, and now I'm gonna be punished. Like they say, karma is gonna come back and get me. Well, there's only one way out of it, and that's through forgiveness. And when you forgive and elevate yourself to your true identity, karma only comes back on the same level that it was created. And so your mind is not there anymore. So when it comes back with bringing the same thing that you gave out, you are not there. You escape it. You escape it. If you're still sitting here thinking that, oh, because I did this and not because I did that, I deserve punishment, I deserve recompense, I deserve this. No, you don't. And you can escape that. By what? Elevating yourself to a higher vibration. And what is that higher vibration? It's love. So when the karma comes back looking for you, you're not in the space of the ego mind anymore. You're in the space of love. It can't touch you. It can't touch you. And so we don't have to sit around and feel guilty about anything. You don't have to have a consciousness towards punishment, a consciousness towards that I've done something that is eternally wrong. We call that sin. We made up that concept ourselves. That's not even a God concept. God knows nothing about sin. Why? Because God is love. God is light. In him there is no darkness. And that's what Jesus came to with his message to tell us. That there is no sin. The sin that you are thinking about, the sin that is ruling your life, the guilt that you're feeling, the fear, the anxiety about the future, all these animals that you guys are killing and sacrificing. You're killing all these innocent animals, think it's going to free your consciousness. It's not going to happen. The only thing that frees your consciousness is the truth, which we're sharing. The concept of sacrifice, that's a man-made idea. That's not a God idea. There's no need for sacrifice. If there's a need for sacrifice, that means that what God did was broken. And if what God did was broken, that means that God is broken, and God is not broken. We cannot take what's in dreams, in a dream life, and make it reality. And so there's no need for sacrifice. The only need we have is to forgive ourselves. Forgive the dream of separation and the dreamer for dreaming it. Forgive those within the dream, the content of the dream. Forgive your brother. Forgive everyone. See, it's the releasing of that falsity that frees us up. That all that there now to replace it is reality. Your freedom, your innocence, your wholeness, your completion, your happiness, your joy, your peace. And so forgiveness, which is not even a gift that was given us in heaven, but it's something that we have to learn. And Jesus came and taught us forgiveness at its highest level. He came to teach us forgiveness at his highest level. The death, the burial, the birth, the death, the burial, resurrection of Christ is a story of forgiveness. God was teaching us in the most extreme way that is our function in life. That is our path out. That is our way out of our own imprisonment. That is the way out of sin consciousness, guilt, and fear. It's forgiveness. And it's not that God is forgiving us, because from God's perspective, we ain't done anything but dreamed. But it is the forgiveness is for us to forgive ourselves. It's for you to forgive yourself. For God to forgive us is to say that God was holding something against us. Love doesn't hold no grievances. So that's not true. God has never held you in contempt. God is never love doesn't do that. It can't do that. It's impossible. It is absolutely impossible. The only thing that holds us in contempt is our wrong thinking. Not even the action. It is the wrong thinking. The thinking is the source of it. The actions is just an indication of what we're thinking. By the time we take action, that's what Jesus meant. He said, you know, when you already done it in your mind, because it is in the mind whereby we live. It is in our thoughts. It's in the ideas that we embrace. It's in the things that we don't see. Remember, the things that we don't see, they are eternal. We don't see thoughts, but we see the effects of them when they are manifested in our life through our actions. That's why we always focus on the thoughts. What are we thinking? What are the ideas? This whole course is based on reversing the way we think. My whole purpose, my dedication to this platform, Truly Foundation, is to help humanity. First of all, to take a look at how you're thinking. What are you thinking about? Where do you get these thoughts? Where these ideas come from? Are they what? Adding to or taking away from your life? Are they bringing joy and peace? So it is in the thought life that we have to go to. We have to do and that's we call the inner work. We have to go inside ourselves at the level of our thoughts and be transformed in the way that we're thinking. Because when we have conformed ourselves to the thoughts that the world have what mentored us in, it's what brings on the hurt and the pain. It's what brings all the hurt in the world. So we have to change the way we're thinking. We have to what? Embrace the thoughts of God, the thoughts of reality. We have to take on the thought of love. Therein lies the answers to every problem in this world. It's in our thought life. We don't need another mechanism. We don't need another, we don't need another upgrade of mechanisms. We need to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And it is through the idea of forgiveness, which is the greatest tool. It's the greatest attribute we have. It's the greatest transitory thing, because it's temporary too. Because once you forgive, forgiveness is not needed in your reality. It's not needed in heaven. It's needed here on this journey. So this life is a journey of what? Forgiveness, because it's through the forgiveness that we remember God. It is through forgiveness that we remember who we are and who our brother is. And so forgiveness becomes our function here in this life. Forgiveness is our function. Why? Because it's through forgiveness that we discover our happiness. It is through forgiveness that we discover the joy, the peace, the creativity, the abundance, the oneness. We discover everything through the portal of forgiveness. And so it says, forgiveness recognizes that what you thought you did to your brother hasn't occurred. Because if you think that it occurred, it puts you in a place of what? Guilt and sin consciousness now. And it says that sin is basically, it says, what is sin except a false idea about what God created or who God created? It's a false idea about yourself. And it's a false idea about our brothers and sisters. And that's what sin is, which is transitory. It's a man-made idea. It's not God idea. He says, so since you're in this space and you made up all this concept about sin, I'm gonna tell you what it really is. He said it's a false idea that you have about yourself, period. And a false idea that you have about your brother, period. That's all it is. We change the idea, change the reality. He said when you change the way you see yourself and others, everything in your world will change. And that's true. And it leads to what? It leads to unforgiving thoughts, which leads to judgments. It leads to uh, thoughts that uh, that eventually inspire us into action that is detrimental to us. That's when we attack others and attack ourselves. He said, but forgiveness, on the other hand, it is still. It's not frantic. It remains in stillness. It puts you in a place of stillness. It recenters you. It takes you from the guilt of the past and anxiety of the future and puts you in the present moment. That's what forgiveness does. It says, on the other hand, it is still and quietly. It's still and quietly. It does nothing. It does nothing. It says, unforgiving thoughts. It said it does many things. It's like you listening to the ego thought system say, do this, do that. Did you see what she done? Did you see what he done? You should not do this. You should hold this against them. You should withhold your love. Don't go see them. Don't call them. Don't think good thoughts about them. Tell everybody about how bad they are. Blah, 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 blah. That's what the ego is always telling you to do, this stuff. You're listening to the ego. You're listening to a false self. And the whole time, your real self is still and quiet, and it does nothing. It's still and quiet, and it does nothing. It offends no one. It offends no aspect of reality. It knows what reality is. Your true self, it knows what reality is. Here's a little nugget. The ego always speaks first, and it speaks loudest. That's not the voice of God. The ego always speaks first, and it speaks loudest. Did you see what they did? And it goes into judgment. It says, forgiveness, on the other hand, is still and quietly does nothing. It offends no aspect of reality, nor seek to twist it to appearances that it likes. It doesn't try to make itself look good. The most extreme case of that is when Jesus was being physically crucified for no real cause at all. And most people would say he was justified to start. You'd say, hey, to complain about it, or to say, y'all doing me wrong. Y'all doing this, y'all doing that. This is not fair. But he showed us, I told you, he was the greatest demonstration of forgiveness. He showed us how to handle. He showed us how to handle the ego's threats, the ego's attack. He was still and he was quiet. And when he did speak, he said, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And none of us have been asked to be crucified. No. We get upset over a little road rage. We get upset because we can't have our way, in the house, in the relationship. These little things. And then we go on the attack of each other, and we hurt one another. And then we feel bad, and we wonder why. Because we're making the error real. We're making the experience real, and it's not. We're listening to the false self. We're listening to the ego. It says, but real, true forgiveness, it merely looks. It observes. It knows what's going on. It's not unaware of what's happening. It's aware. It said it merely looks. And it waits. In other words, it doesn't react or respond. It doesn't react to to the to the loud responses that's coming from the ego. It doesn't go on the attack. It waits. It doesn't make a judgment. It waits. In many cases, if we would just wait 24 hours before we made a decision or responded to something, in many cases we wouldn't have to do anything. But no, we get triggered immediately because we've been highly trained to listen to the voice of the ego, to go on the attack or to feel that you're under threat. That's just an indication that you don't really trust. You're not confident in who you are. That's all it means, and that's not bad. But we have to come to learn. The content of our life will lead us to a place of learning that there's a better way. And forgiveness is that better way. So forgiveness merely looks and waits and judges not. That's what it says here. It says, forgiveness merely looks, wait, and judges not. He who would not forgive must judge, for he must justify his failure to forgive. But he who would forgive himself. So forgiveness is for yourself, not for something else outside of you, but it's you forgive yourself for becoming afraid in the moment. You forgive yourself for thinking wrongly of yourself or wrongly of others. You forget. It's for you to forgive yourself. It said forgiveness is for yourself. But he who would forgive himself must learn to welcome the truth exactly as it is. What is the truth? Exactly as it is. I remain as God created me. I am a formless, timeless, eternal, self-aware, impersonal being. I share the one being with God. Eternal life is not something in the future for me. I am eternal life right now. It is a quality of life. I am timeless and I'm formless. I am the presence. I am one with God and one with all living things, all creation, all humanity. All humanity is my brother. I'm in the family of God. I was born of love. I cannot be threatened. I cannot be attacked. The body can be, but that's not who I am. I'm not a body. I'm aware of a body, but I'm not that. And then once we realize this gift, once we realize the power of forgiveness, we realize that it's a part of our function. It's a part of our life now, because it's through forgiveness that we wake up, and that it becomes a part of our function. To where what we extend forgiveness everywhere and to everyone, no exceptions. We hold no grievances because love holds no grievances. God holds no grievances. I share the life of God. I hold no grievances. You say, Oliver, that's hard. Yeah, when you don't understand, it is very hard. But when you are aware and awake, when you have been enlightened to this truth, it's easy to understand, and it's easy to let this transitory world go. That you value the knowledge of God over the temporary things of this world. You value peace. You value your own happiness. You value joy. Why? Because you realize that it is in your forgiveness that these things are what? These things flow in your life. And it's through unforgiveness that they are suppressed in your life. It's one thing to be healthy and rich, but your family is falling apart. It's one thing to be healthy and rich, and there's no joy and peace in your life. It's another thing to have joy and peace and happiness and fulfillment. And have whatever else experience you want to have. whether it's simple or extravagant, whatever you desire. None of those things are, wrong, in the sense that the only wrong is that you trying to find your value, your peace, and your joy and your happiness in those things. No, you realize, no, you bring the joy and happiness to everything. These transitory things, they're only temporary. You don't make idols out of them. You don't get your value or worth out of having or not having them. But you understand that your joy and your happiness and your value comes from what? From your Creator, which was given to you at creation. And that's a settled thing. That's an unalterable and unchanging thing. And so, forgiveness is the key to our happiness. Here is the answer to your search for peace. You want peace? Forgiveness is your answer. Here is the key to meaning in this world. You want to know really what the meaning of this world is? It says forgiveness is the answer. He said this world without forgiveness, it makes no sense. And that's true. You live in this world and don't understand this level of forgiveness that we're talking about. The world makes no sense. It's crazy. It's insane. But just with the simple idea of forgiveness, it now has a purpose. You now have a function, and your function is what? Forgiveness. It says forgiveness is the way to safety in apparent dangers that appear to threaten you at every turn and bring uncertainty to all your hopes of ever finding quietness and peace. He said forgiveness is your safety for finding what? Quietness and peace. It is through forgiveness. It says, here are all questions answered. Here is the answer to your search for peace. Forgiveness is the key to happiness. And it's simply to undo and to lay aside all the impossibilities. It says, here are all answers, all questions answers, and here the end of all uncertainty, ensured at last, through the simple virtue of forgiveness. And I'm not talking about this forgiveness that the world teaches. I'm talking about this forgiveness that Jesus demonstrated. I'm talking about the forgiveness that the Course is put a course together to train us, to teach us about true forgiveness, because it has to be learned. Who you are in reality doesn't have to be learned. It's a knowing, it's an awareness. Forgiveness is transitory. It's an illusion, just like all the other things in this world, but it's the best one. It's the only one that allows you through the portal, out of the portal of unreality into the portal of reality. Because it is through forgiveness that we understand that giving and receiving are the same. That which we give, we're giving to ourselves. When we understand this through forgiveness, that because we are one, what I give to my brother, I'm giving to myself. So I would think twice now before I attack someone. I would think twice now before I would abuse someone. I would think twice now before I would betray someone. Why? Because I'm only doing it to myself. And it is through forgiveness that we understand this principle, that giving and receiving are the same. It's one act of love. When you pick up one end of the stick, you pick up the other. That's what Jesus meant when he said it's blessed to give. And it should say, so it's so blessed to give, to then receive. That idea, no, it's blessed to give and to receive. Because if you think about it, it's more blessed to give than receive. You think that receiving is not blessed, but it is because you can't avoid it. And so a lot of people have problem receiving things. Oh, don't give me that. People offer, no, I don't want that. I want that, because there's false humility. But when you pick up one end of the stick, whether it's giving or receiving, you pick up the other end, because you're giving to yourself. You're receiving of that which you're giving. That's what Jesus meant when he said, give and it shall be given unto you. See, give and it shall be given. Giving and receiving, it's one act of love. And forgiveness allows us to understand this principle. And so when we understand this principle, we would think twice of what we give to another, because we're giving it to ourselves. So forgiveness is the key to our happiness. It's the key to opening up us to the awareness of the happiness that we are, the love that we are. It is the key. After having forgiven ourselves, remember, it's only a shift in the way we see. We give up one perception for another. We give up the perception of a false self that is separated from everyone else. And we embrace the perception of our true reality, that we all share the one self. And what I would have for myself, I will have for my brother. What I will have for my brother, I will have for myself, because that's the way it's going to be. And therefore, it becomes easy to say now what I thought my brother did, it didn't happen. I release it because I wouldn't want that for myself. It says, so forgiveness is the key to happiness. It says, when we awake from the dream that we are mortal, meaning we are born to die. When we awake from the idea that we are these physical bodies, it says, when we awake from the dream of being mortal, infallible, and full of what? Sin, and know that we are the perfect creation of God, that happens through forgiveness. That we're not mortal, we're not fallible, and we're not sin. Sin doesn't exist. When we let that go and embrace our our perfection, that which God created, therein lies our happiness, therein lies our joy, therein lies our peace. And so forgiveness offers us everything that we want. It does. And you don't have to pay a dime. You don't have to pay a penny to forgive. So that means what? God gave us this plan and this idea that all of us, regardless of our economic status, our race, our nationality, regardless of any label that this world can put on us or any status, God gave us this gift. God gave us this idea of forgiveness as the way out of everything and the way to everything. And it doesn't cost nothing. It only takes a little willingness for us to learn what true forgiveness is, and then to exercise it or to practice it. And it can be done by anyone, from the head of a country to the one that may not have any worldly status. Forgiveness can be practiced by everyone. It places all of us on the same level. And he said, God said, this is the plan. This was the plan. And he demonstrated and showed us that plan through Jesus's life. That was a demonstration. That was not a punishment. That was not a requirement for death. That was not a payment. That's what we interpreted that to be. But in reality, Jesus made a decision to demonstrate to us what love really is through forgiveness. He made his own choice to demonstrate the love of God through forgiveness. That's what the decision that he made when he realized who he was. Now it's 2022, the year of our Lord in 2022. And you are here. If you're listening to me, you are here. And I'm here to declare to you that your life purpose, your life function is forgiveness. It is to demonstrate the love of God through your forgiveness towards yourself and toward all humanity. That is your purpose for being here, regardless of what you're doing, regardless of what you're being, regardless of what industry you're in, regardless of what other choices you have made, where you work, where you give your service, what family you are in, what community you are in. It does not matter. Your goal in life, your purpose is to demonstrate the reality of the love of God that you are through forgiveness. And believe me, you will have every opportunity every day to practice forgiveness. You will. Every encounter is a forgiveness opportunity. And the more you understand and practice, the more you will see the effects of forgiveness in your life and in the lives of others. Your forgiveness opens up the entire world to come to know itself. You came to know yourself through forgiveness. The world will come to know itself through your forgiveness. That is your function. Forgiveness offers everything that you want, everything that you could ever desire. Forgiveness offers that to you. So regardless of what you're doing, regardless of what you're being, regardless of what your status is in life, your happiness is a direct reflection. It's a direct tie to your what? To your forgiveness. It is it. If you never knew your function in this life, it was to forgive yourself for trying to substitute your reality with a false self. And you embrace this one self that God created and that we all share. And now that you've embraced that, your function in the world is to what? Be the light of the world through forgiveness. By holding no grievance against you or anyone else, no judgments. But to what? Look and wait and judge not. But in stillness and quietness, do nothing. And forgiveness will show you what to do. We no longer are run by the ego thought system. We're no longer run by the impulse of a false self that believes in separation, that believes in sin consciousness, guilt, and fear. But one who have embraced its innocence, you now know that you're the innocent creation of God. And that can never change. Nothing can separate you, what? From the love of God that was demonstrated. Like I said, nothing can separate us from the love that was demonstrated by Jesus the Christ. He just demonstrated it. It wasn't just for him. Now your life, it is your life. It's your time. What are you going to do? Judge the world in unrighteousness? Judge yourself or your brother in unrighteousness? Or are you going to let the world go free? Or are you going to let your brother go free? Or are you going to let yourself go free by saying what? What I thought happened, it didn't happen. So forgiveness offers everything that one would want. What could you want forgiveness? It said, what could you want that forgiveness cannot give to you? Do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want happiness? Do you want a quiet mind? Do you really want a quiet mind? A mind that's at rest? Do you want certainty, a purpose? Do you want to know what your purpose is for certain? It says, do you want a sense of worth, a self-worth, or self-image? Do you want a healthy self-image of yourself? It says, do you want beauty? Do you want beauty in your life? You're not finding it in the things that you are acquiring. You're not finding it in relationships. You're not finding it in the activities and the events of this world. You're going all over the place looking for it. He said, do you want beauty? And beauty that transcends this world. Because there's a beauty that transcends the world. Do you want that? It says, do you want care? Do you really want to be cared for? Do you want safety? It says, and do you want the warmth of sure protection always? Do you feel unprotected? Do you want the warmth of protection always? Is this what you desire? It says, do you want a quietness that cannot be disturbed? What? You mean that's available to me? Yes. Do you want that? He says, do you want a gentleness that never can be hurt? In other words, he said, do you want to feel invulnerable? I feel so vulnerable, but can I experience invulnerability? He said, do you want this? He said, yes. Is that a yes? He said, a gentleness that can never be hurt. You say, oh, I've been hurt all my life. Well, there's a life that you can have that is without hurt. It says, do you want a deep, abiding comfort? Do you want to be comforted deeply? And a deep, abiding comfort. Do you want that? Do you want a rest that is so perfect that it can never be upset? Do you really want that? It says, all these wants, all these desires. It says, all this forgiveness offers you and more. Just through the simplicity of true forgiveness. It offers you all these things and more. So what it's saying is that without forgiveness at this level that Jesus demonstrated to us, he says these things will evade us. It says all this forgiveness offers you and more. It says, forgiveness, let the veil be lifted up that hides the face of Christ from those who look with unforgiving eyes upon the world. It lets you recognize that what God created. It lets you recognize the face of Christ in everyone. And clears your memory of all dead thoughts so that the remembrance of God can arise across the threshold of your mind. All these things forgiveness offers us. What would you want forgiveness cannot give? What gifts but these are worthy to be sought? What fancied value, trivial effect, or transient promise, never to be kept, can hold more hope than what forgiveness brings? It says, why would you seek an answer other than the answer that will answer everything? It says forgiveness will answer everything. Here is the perfect answer given to imperfect questions, meaningless request, heartfelt willingness to hear, and less than halfway diligence and partial trust. Here is the answer seek for it no more. You cannot find another one instead. There is no other answer than forgiveness. And forgiveness is the central part of God's plan for salvation. And not only God's part, but God has made it our number one function as a part of God's plan for salvation is to forgive. The world can't be saved if you and I don't forgive the world. My brother will stumble in the darkness as long as we hold unforgiving thoughts, or hold grievances against them. But the moment that we release them, they are set free. And so are you. It says God's plan for salvation cannot change, nor can it fail. Be thankful it remains exactly as it was planned. Changelessly, it stands before us like an open door. Forgiveness stands before us like an open door, which is God's plan for salvation. With warmth and welcome calling from beyond the doorway, bidding us to enter in and make ourselves at home where we belong. Here is the answer. Would you stand outside while all of heaven waits for you within? In other words, it's saying forgiveness is the doorway to heaven. And not heaven as a place, but heaven as a reality, a state of being. Not heaven is something in the future, but this place, this home that we can stand in right now. It says forgiveness is the doorway to that. Would you stand outside while all of heaven waits for you? It says forgiven. It says forgive then. Forgive. Let go. Release. And be forgiven. Forgive and be forgiven. This is the key to life. This is God's plan for salvation. Your salvation. This is God's plan for your peace, your happiness, your joy, your creativity, your prosperity, your health, everything. This is this simple idea of forgiveness. And we talk about it like it has no value. Or we withhold it like it's not going to have an effect on us. It said forgiveness affects everything. He says, as you give, you will receive. As you forgive, you will receive the forgiveness that you forgave. So you hold the key to your happiness. You hold the key to your life. You do. No one else does. Doesn't matter what anyone else does. It only matters what you do. What I do. I hold the key to my life. And it's telling me, here's the secret to life. Walk as the forgiven one. Walk in forgiveness. Walk as the light of the world. That's what it means to walk in forgiveness. You are the light of the world. You become the example. You become the awareness that others can see. You become the proof. You become the evidence. You become the substance of what everyone else is hoping for. Through your simple forgiveness. No one can be denied. The ability to forgive. No one can be denied it. It doesn't require anything. He said, but what? It offers you everything. We thought money offered us everything. No, we know people that got more money than they could live 20 lifetimes. But because they're not walking in forgiveness, they're miserable. You don't want that. I don't want that. You can have money and be the light of the world too. They go hand in hand through your forgiveness. Forgiveness gives your money real purpose. Because those yachts and those planes and all the stuff that money buys, eventually it wears off. Say, what is next? And what's next? And what's next? And you buy up all this stuff and you're still not happy. But there's a way to buy up all the stuff and be happy through forgiveness. And you give. As you give, you receive. There is no plan but this for the salvation of what God created. Let us today rejoice that this is so, for here we have an answer that's very clear, very plain, and beyond deceit in its simplicity. All the complexities the world has spun of fragile cobweb disappear before the power and the majesty of the extremely simple statement of the truth. Here is the answer. Do not turn away in aimless wandering again. Accept salvation now. It is the gift of God, and now the world. The world can give no gifts of any value to a mind that has received what God has given on its own. God wills salvation. God wills that salvation be received today, and all the intricacies of your dreams no longer hide their nothingness from you. Open your eyes today and look upon a happy world of safety and peace. Forgiveness is the means by which it comes to take the place of hell. And in quietness, it rises up to greet your open eyes and fill your heart with deep tranquility and ancient truth. Forever, newly born, arise in your awareness. What you will remember then can never be described, yet your forgiveness offers it to you. Remembering the gifts forgiveness gives will undertake what we practice today and from every day forward, with hope and faith that this will be the day salvation will be ours. Earnestly and gladly, we will seek for it today, aware we hold the key within our hands, accepting heaven's answer to the hell we made, but where we would remain no more. Forgiveness offers us everything. And today we have accepted this as true. Today we have received all the gifts of God through our forgiveness. That's the way that they are what? Released unto us. Forgiveness is the answer to all things. Forgiveness answers all things. I know this says that money answers all things. We already know that's not true. Money can create a nightmare for you. But forgiveness, it answers all things. All right. I know this was lengthy, but hey, it's what we need. It's our way out of darkness. It is our happiness. Forgiveness and happiness are one and the same. It's our function. It's our way out. It's the key to our happiness. It's the means by which we bring darkness to light. It allows us to recognize the light in which we see. In forgiveness lies our salvation. Thank you so much for being with me. I took a detour for the last 2 days to really go deep into this subject because I think the more we live, the more we come to see the need for this in the world that we live in. We see the world sometimes going sideways. It's like, where, how far? And so there has to be a voice that's saying, come over here. Here's the door. Here's the light. Here's your freedom. Here's your salvation. Here's the way out of pain and suffering. And they holler back, how much does it cost me? And we say, it doesn't cost anything, but it will get you everything. And they say, well, what kind of world is that? And you holler back, it's the real world. It's the world of love. Thank you so much for being here. It gives me great honor and pleasure. I am so grateful and happy to be able to share these ideas. And now you go forth in the world in peace and you share them in your life. And watch what happens. Watch how it empowers you. Watch how it empowers you. Peace. Bye. Have a great day. Bye-bye.